Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Your Life in Austin. I'm Kathleen Magat, your Austin real estate agent. So today we're talking about real estate and design, and I have a special guest for y'all. Her name is Heather Boggess. She's the founder of Haus Collective ATX, lead designer with 20 years of experience in real estate and design, began her career in real estate in 2001, focusing on finding ideal homes for clients. Served as director of operations at a distinguished construction company, gaining a unique perspective. And she's committed to creating spaces that reflect each client's unique lifestyle. Y'all welcome Heather Boggess. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited you're here.
Me too.
I have been following your business for quite some time, and I just love it. It's very high-end, luxurious. Like, I just want my house to look like that kind of vibe, and I love it.
We all want our house to look like that. Just don't look behind the scenes when we're moving stuff out of the way to take the photos.
Right? Or the bank account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. But, okay, so tell us, like, how you got into interior design.
Sure. Well, I think I've loved design since I was a kid. Like, I actually remember my dad bringing home giant boxes and turning them into houses. Like, I would build rooms. So I've always loved the thought and process of creating spaces. When I was a teenager, I was constantly rearranging my room. I mean, always. As an adult, I'm still always rearranging my room. My husband absolutely loves it. But I started selling real estate back in the early 2000s. And what began happening is I would take my clients to look at a property. Mm-hmm. And often these were, first-time home buyers. So we'd go look at a house. And I mean, you're a real estate agent, when you get into a house, and sometimes people have mustard yellow paint or the flooring is green shag carpet. And my clients would just be like, oh gosh, I can't with this house. And for me, I'd see beyond all of that. I always saw the potential in it. Mm-hmm. And so I would start reimagining the spaces with my client or helping them redesign it. And at one point, my husband's like, hey, you're doing all this work for free, And it kind of occurred to me that he was not incorrect. And so I started segueing that into just offering some minor design help to my clients, to friends, to family. And that really led into then us purchasing a house and remodeling it and flipping it. And it really helped me start to understand design processes from a different perspective. When you're really in it and you're going step by step, it's very different than how I imagined it would be. So that really kind of launched my interest into a professional aspect of the design industry.
It's interesting that you just didn't add it like as an part of your umbrella of services, right? Because, real estate and design do go hand in hand.
Right.
So can you talk through that process, or was it not even a consideration?
I think at that point, it was all just so new to me that it wasn't something that I felt super comfortable doing. I felt like there might be a line of ethics that it could cross. Okay. I wanted to be sure that my clients felt that I was representing them in one fashion or the other, and not necessarily, hey, you should buy this house so that you have to then purchase my services. It just really felt like it was an afterthought at the moment, and it just felt comfortable in that space for the time being.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, so then tell us about your philosophy. Can you describe it? What is Haus Collective ATX?
Yeah. So our philosophy is really, we believe in creating functional spaces that are also beautiful. My goal is always to make sure that whatever design I'm implementing is going to improve my client's life, whether that's from a functionality standpoint or an aesthetic standpoint. Mm-hmm. I really like to be able to provide both. when possible. But more importantly, it's not a one size fits all. I really want to tailor each and every design to the unique lifestyle of my clients. And I think that that's what sets me apart, is that I don't just assume that the same layout or same design is going to work for Joe as it did for Jill.
Yeah.
So really just approaching things from a more organic standpoint of, let's start with where your pain points are. Why doesn't this space work for you? What don't you love about this? And what do you love about this? And then let's find the solution within that.
Right. So, you kind of touched on it earlier. Real estate, when showing homes, right, more of the newer homes tend to be more open concept, right? So you got this grand space. You come in, you're like, wow. And then, I've heard from a few clients after they've moved in, like, I don't know what to do with this space. I put my couch, I put my essentials, and then I got like all this extra space. And so, I think real estate and design go hand in hand, because with what you said, making the space work, in a way that maximizes the space.
Right.
I guess, can you talk more about how you see, real estate and design intertwining?
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of, this is a multi-answer question. I think that the answer to that was vastly different pre-COVID than it is now, because now we are dealing with people that are still working remote. We're dealing with people are just more comfortable with their home lives, wanting to be home more. And so there is a higher need and demand for being able to create multifunctional spaces. And whereas before, I feel like having an open floor plan or wasted space was not really a big deal. People are like, oh, it's just the formal dining room that we don't use. It's no big deal. Now everyone's like, that's a working space I could be using. Yeah. My kids could be doing their school there.
Yeah.
Or, my husband is taking his work calls from our bedroom closet.
Right.
So I think now...
Or turn your dining room into a podcast.
Oh, well, there's that. Exactly. I think now we're really having to get more creative. And so I love that, a lot of the developers are now thinking through some of those things. I think it's important to think about the different ways that the space will be utilized so that you don't have wasted space, so that you are capitalizing on every square inch of your home in an efficient manner.
Right. So I did see a data point recently where stage homes sell faster, right? And I think the percentage I saw was 88%. And so what is staging part of your scope?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. Mostly that's a lot of inventory that you have to carry to stage. And it's just not something that I really try to stay focused in my arena, stay in my own lane. Yeah. And there are some fabulous stagers here in Austin. But that is true, that a staged home sells so much faster. And that's because people cannot see beyond what they can see at times.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm sure you have, when you've walked into like an empty bedroom that's, 15 by 15, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so small. How's it going to fit everything in there? And then you get the furniture in, and then all of a sudden it feels twice as big.
Right.
Staging really helps bring a vision to life and helps people to see what they could have never imagined on their own.
So then do you think, as homeowners are designing their home, right, everyone's always thinking about, how do I make the most out of my asset, right? We were talking about that a little bit earlier. So as they're designing it, do you walk them through that? Is that part of your conversation? Like, if you did this, your property value could go up?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know that a bathroom is worth its weight in gold when it comes to a finished product. When you want to sell the house, having an extra bathroom or having ample storage solutions. So there's always those conversations that are happening of here's a great ROI. You know, if you spend the money here, you'll see it returned in full. Here's where I wouldn't waste my money. You know, maybe building this out is not worth it, or, you know, building this out is worth it.
Yeah.
But typically when we're starting from scratch on a new construction, it is really thinking through what the client goes through each day. Like, what is your daily routine? How are you going to use this space? What do you need to access daily? What do you need to access weekly? What do you need to access monthly? How can we optimize the storage? You know, can we use these 16 inches between your studs for towel storage? Can we, you know, instead of doing a drop ceiling with a soffit, let's raise the ceiling so that this small room feels larger. So there's a lot of little tricks that you can utilize to make the space feel like it is performing at its peak.
So that's new construction. What about
Remodeling?
Yes.
Same thing. I mean, depending on how much of a remodel you're doing. I mean, obviously, if it's a gut job, then you have
can
a
see
lot
all-
more
yes.
options, right? If it's just a cosmetic update, then it's really just thinking through your storage solutions that we can bring in, whether it's new cabinetry, if it's, you know, utilizing wall space, because even with just a minor update, you can cut out drywall and try to use, you know, some recessed cabinetry, if you will. But ultimately, it really is just, it depends on the client, really, and what their needs are. But there are so many things that you can do, even with just minor cosmetic updates, to make a huge difference.
Give me some examples.
Okay. If you have, right now, I've had a lot of bathroom remodels lately, like a lot.
Like full bath, half bath.
Primary bathrooms, secondary bathrooms, powder bathrooms, you name it.
Okay.
And a lot of them are houses that were built in like the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. So it was like the travertine tile and the golds and, you know, all of that, lots of beige. And these showers in these beautiful homes are 3 foot by 3 foot wedged in a corner with a dropped ceiling and a glass door that's 24 inches wide and 3 walls surrounding them. It's like being in a dungeon.
Yeah.
And so it really is just like, even just giving them an extra, you know, foot on each side, building the niches in, creating, you know, raising the plumbing up, giving better lighting, it really just changes the entire space so much. Vanities. The 90s loved the dropped vanity.
Yeah.
Like that was just a thing. And just the low vanity cabinets to begin with. So raising
Shell sink, right?
yes, exactly. And, you know, all those beautiful colors.
Yeah.
And so really coming up with better cabinet solutions, you know, the deeper drawers instead of just the cabinet doors, for instance. You can store so much more using a deep drawer versus having to get on your hands and knees and climb into a cabinet with shelves that don't even extend all the way to the cabinet door. So it's really small little adjustments like that can make a really big difference.
Well, I think the biggest thing that the newer homes are lacking is storage. Like you come in, you see beautiful like finishes, flooring, you know, fixtures and things like that. And then once you move in, you realize you didn't have enough cabinet space in X room, or you don't have any cabinets in this room. And I noticed that's like one of the first things, like I'll get a call and say, do you know any like organizers or closet, like especially the closet, right? You usually just have the shelf and the rod, you know, no kind of drawers or anything, because I don't know, maybe developers are expecting people to have dressers still. I don't know, right? It's just, that's one of the first things I think people tend to buy after they move in.
Yeah.
Whether it's cubbies, baskets, you know, things that aren't already nailed into the wall. Or IKEA.
Yeah.
They're, oh gosh, I can't even remember. I remember when I was looking for closet organization stuff, the IKEA, I can't remember it. But
the PAX
wardrobe. Yes, the PAX.
Mm-hmm.
And I took measurements of my closet because like I saw so many beautiful closets because of that IKEA packs. But I took the measurements of my closet, and it's just a smidge small. I was so mad.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yes, I did notice that, closet storage in general is usually lacking.
Right. And actually, I kind of went down a deep rabbit hole of this a few months ago because you're familiar with our house.
Yeah.
And it's an open floor plan. And I'm like, when we moved in, I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to have so much extra space. And every week I'm like, why don't we have more storage? It is just a constant battle. And I really have realized that these open floor plans, there are no walls to house closets.
Yes.
It's great. I can see from one side of the house to the other, but I have nowhere to hide my junk. I mean, truth be told, it's like, where do I put all these things? I have 2 linen closets and way more linens than I could ever need in my entire life.
Right.
But I need somewhere to store them. So that is the downside to these open floor plans is a lot of times, unless you are buying, a 5,000 or 6,000 square foot house that has an oversized laundry room or mud room, you might miss out on closet space and linen space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a little bit of a mud room from our garage. And I was like, oh, cool. We're going to have these, like, the bookcase with the hooks and then the 2 drawers.
Yeah. I think we have the same one.
Yeah. But it's not enough for the kids' shoes, jackets, all. And yeah. And then all of a sudden, the drawers are full, the shelves are full, and then there's shoes on the ground.
Yep. We have our dogs' leashes hanging all over. And there's not enough space. And as far as the closets go, I mean, that is definitely one of the most consistent aspects of remodeling that I'm seeing whenever we're doing like a primary bathroom or bedroom is the closet has to be built out. And there are a lot of great semi-custom closet companies here now.
Yeah.
It used to only be California Closets.
Yeah.
And now you have several to choose from.
Right.
But I have also seen those IKEA hacks, and I'm always impressed because, first of all, half the time it's a woman doing it.
Right.
And I'm like,
it
go
is.
you.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then they trim it out, and it looks incredibly custom and beautiful.
Change out the handles.
Yes, they paint it.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, you have a paint sprayer?
Yeah.
That's impressive too, because I've tried to use one and it didn't work.
Right.
So I think a closet, that's also one of the areas that I feel like in real estate, you really get your money back.
Yeah.
If you invest, $10,000, $15,000 in a closet, when a woman comes in and sees that she has a place for all of her things, she is not going to question spending a little bit more.
You're right.
Yeah. No.
So last year we saw a lot of whites and grays, right? And so this year there's still a little bit of it lingering, but I feel like it's, transitioning out. What would you say, or what is the trend right now?
I hate that word.
Okay.
I'm very careful when I use the word trend because trends come and go.
They do.
And I really try to advise my clients to stay away from trends. I really, really encourage all clients to go with something that's timeless and unique to them. The gray era, as I call it, because we had, the gray cabinets, the gray flooring, the gray walls, everything was gray. And then it just became where everything felt super sterile. So now we are definitely seeing a lot more wood grain, natural stain in the cabinetry, which is beautiful. More earth tone cabinets being painted, whether it's one of my favorites is accessible beige. That is a beautiful color. It's so versatile. People are just going with a little bit warmer countertops, not just the standard white quartz or marble with the white cabinets. People are leaning into this dark and moody vibe, which has been really cool to see. It's like everyone is all of a sudden getting really comfortable with their diversity and saying, this is me, this is what I like, this is what represents me, and I don't necessarily need to try to fit in with everyone else.
Right.
So
Isn't that Austin?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Keeping it where.
Right.
I think that we're just going to continue to see a lot of more trying to keep things as close to their natural state as possible. Mm-hmm. You know, we're dealing with a lot of the eco-friendly, sustainable design options, which has been really neat to learn about, and, you know, trying to stay on top of that.
Is it harder to source the eco-friendly?
It's not, it's getting easier to source that. It's still obviously more expensive, but people seem to be okay with paying a little bit more, knowing that they're either making a positive impact on the environment, on their health.
Yeah.
It's been really, really neat to see this come about and how it's changing design from the inside out.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, when it's about your health, there's really not a price to,
right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
The cost. Yeah. There, you can't put a price on your health.
Right. And, you know, but I think it's also really cool that people, you know, the impact they're making on our environment is also pretty awesome, because, you know, there are certain things we can control, and the fact that they can do that within their own home, you know, I think that's pretty admirable too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that right now. One of the biggest things, and when I first had a client ask about it, it kind of caught me off guard. It caught me on my back foot a little bit. She was replacing one of her tubs. So this client, she's actually one of my most memorable cases. So she was doing a multi-room renovation, and she had a lot of autoimmune issues. And so did her children. And one of her children is on the spectrum. And so through the renovation that they were having to do, because they had a water leak and all this mold pop up, and they got really sick. And so when we were picking out new finishes, she was like, no acrylic baths. And I was like, no acrylic bathtubs? She's like, no. Because they emit gas when you rub against them. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry, pause. What? And so then it sent me on this whole, you know, rabbit hole of VOCs and the plastics and all of this stuff. And so the solid surface tubs are really one of the highest in demand finishes that I am seeing across the board. Is people do not want the plastic, the fiberglass, any of that. They are wanting to do the solid surface, cast iron, tub inserts. The quartz is, you know, the solid surface tubs are basically a type of quartz or metal. And they are opting for that because they are trying to eliminate some of the chemicals that they're bringing into their home.
Wow.
I know. It was crazy.
It kind of makes me think about everything that's in my house right now.
Yeah. I mean, it can send you into a tailspin. So don't spend too much time thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you might just start like looking at labels, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and then you're like, I need to rip out my bathtub.
Yeah. I mean, because I remember doing a similar exercise when I first got into like eating natural foods, right? Actually, it started before that. It was I learned about breast cancer and how, you know, the things that we apply on our body, like deodorants and things like that, has phthalates and parabens, which, you know, could lead to breast cancer. And I was just like, what? And then so that got me into a rabbit hole. And then and then I started looking into food and all the chemicals that they put in food. I guess it never really dawned on me to think about my surroundings, literally my four walls.
No, I know. You assume that you're in your home, and so you're safe. Filtration systems have been really big, not just for, you know, the softener aspect of it, but for drinking, because clients of mine do not want to purchase plastic water bottles.
Yeah.
They buy the washable, reusable glass ones.
Yeah.
And it's really becoming more prevalent now, which is great. But it also, you know, there is a cost associated with it. There is an accessibility associated with it. And I don't know that anyone can ever get to a point where they're, you know, 100% living a chemical-free life.
Yeah.
But trying to limit what you can is always great.
Right. Well, and I mean, in a world where we live out of convenience, right? I think about a sandwich bag. You know, it's cool. I mean, it's so convenient to just grab a Ziploc sandwich bag, put your snacks in there, than it is to wash one of those reusable.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think I don't know if people are ready to do that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because they're constantly on the go, right?
I know.
Yeah.
But I did just kind of move us over to that. I used to buy just the kind of, the meal prep black plastic that you can throw away or you can reuse. Okay, yeah. Yes. So I would buy them in bulk and I would like meal prep.
Yeah.
And then I started reading and I'm like, oh, okay, it's really not good, especially if you use it in the microwave.
Right.
So then, $300 later, I ordered all new Tupperware meal prep things that are BPA free and all these. It can quickly spiral out of control if you let it.
Yes.
We're all just trying to stay alive.
We are. Okay, so tell us, just tell us what the journey feels like, looks like, when a client decides to work with you.
Yeah. For sake of conversation, we'll say it's a remodel.
Okay.
So for many years, actually, until the past maybe 4 months, I've never advertised. I've really only been referral based.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I just felt, especially having young kids, I didn't feel comfortable with having my name, photo, phone number on the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
So now that they're all adults, we felt like it was a good time for me to go ahead and start doing that. But usually a client will call me because they've been referred by someone, or I work with a lot of contractors here in town. And so I would say actually probably 60% of my clients is the contractor reaching out to me saying, hey, I've got this client or I've got this project. Would you consider coming on board?
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's kind of great because most of the time that means the client is already vetted.
Right.
And the contractor knows me well enough to know whether we're going to be a good match or not. They've already done most of the heavy lifting for me. So once we get initially introduced, usually there's a first in-person meeting where I'm going to meet with them, make sure that we do, jive, that they're not psycho. It's not going to be a weird situation.
Right. A good fit.
Yeah, exactly. Or that they like me. I mean, I could totally rub someone wrong.
Yeah.
I just ask my husband. So we'll usually meet, if it's a renovation, we're meeting on site. I like to look at the space. And I know that this is such a controversial thing in the design world because designers, they get really bent out of shape one way or the other over whether you charge or don't charge for your consultation.
Interesting.
Oh, it is, heated debate across the board. And I do not. I just feel like, what if I don't like them?
Right.
I would feel really uncomfortable taking their money, charging them for my time, and then being like, sorry, I don't like you. We're not a good fit.
Yeah.
So typically I meet them on site. It's an hour or two long. We're going to walk the space. We're going to talk about everything. Okay. You're going to talk me through your life, essentially. Do you have kids? Do you have pets? Where do you eat your meals? Do you cook? Does your spouse cook? Are you right-handed or are you left-handed? Do you shower standing up or sitting down? Like all of the things. I'm going to get so deep into your life that you're going to feel like
that's
I'm
all
a
in the
member of your
consult.
family. If it's typically, yeah. Typically there is a lot of that in the consult.
Okay.
Because when you do go on a consult, they want your ideas. They kind of expect you to be ready to go with what you would do with the space. And so before I can even start thinking through whether it's doable, what I'm thinking is doable, whether it's a feasible project, I do need to know a lot about their life. Like I may not get into all of the nitty-gritty, but I am going to ask a lot of questions because if they have unrealistic expectations, I want to know from the start.
Yeah.
If they want, a $200,000 bathroom on a $30,000 budget, those are things that I need to know because I want to set proper expectations of this project, its timeline, its budget, my abilities.
Right.
I really hate to overpromise and underdeliver. So those are things that are really important for me to have a firm understanding of when I meet with them. So then usually after an hour or two, we leave. I come up with a proposal, some design concepts, assuming they want to work with me. I want to work with them. We go to contract, and then we start the design process. Depending on how much of a renovation we're talking, it might be that we're dealing with architects and engineers first, or it might be that we go straight into formulating the design, picking out finishes, and getting the project on a proper timeline.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how things usually go, is that it's a hard and heavy in the beginning. And then as I tell my clients, I'm like, it's a lot of hurry up and wait. So it's hurry. We have to figure this out, make these decisions. And then you may not see anything happening for a week because there's so many things going on behind the scenes. And then it's, okay, now we need to hurry and do this. And then there's a lull, or you think that there's a lull when there's all of this activity going on in the background. So it can be a long process.
So that's the example for a remodel. So if we scale that down a little bit, what does it look like when it's just a space?
Let's just like say furnishing.
Office, like, I don't know what to do with my office space, or here's my living room. I feel like I have wasted space. What if it's scaled
down to that? So the consultation is going to be similar.
Okay.
As I'm going to want to know how you're using the space now, how you wish that you were using it, some functions that maybe you're missing throughout the house that we could pull some of that space for, or either allocate some of that space to something else that you need that you're using the rest of the house for. We go to contract, same concept. You get your proposal, we sign the contract, and then the design process starts. And typically the design process will start within 2 to 4 weeks, just depending on where you are in the queue. If I have several projects going on, then I will have that slotted to start a couple weeks later. I don't like to overextend myself when it comes to clients.
Right.
I really like to be completely available to them. So once we start the design process, within about a week, maybe 2, you'll have your first set of design concepts. And that will be where I have drawn out the space, or I've come up with a mood board, if you will, a concept board. And in that concept board, we're going to have furniture, we're going to have decor, paint samples, everything. We're going to talk through what you like, what you don't like, kind of narrow that down, and then that would go to a rendering. We would either swap out some of the items if you're like, I really don't like the color of this sofa, or I wish that it was a sectional instead of just a regular sofa and chairs. Once we go to rendering, then really from there it just goes to procurement, and we just wait for all of things to arrive. They go to a local receiving warehouse for white glove delivery. We schedule you on the install. Then on install day, I ask you guys to leave the house. And we come in and we set everything up. They hang the pictures, the mirrors, set up the furniture, haul away all the trash, and then you get to come home to your space that has been redesigned for you.
Oh, it's like everything. So it's not just the furniture, it's like even the accessories, the little details.
Yes, everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, it's great. And then you don't even have to deal with any of the trash afterwards. Your husband doesn't have to break down the boxes, which is the best part of it.
Yeah.
They haul it all away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just love that whole process, especially the part where you're just getting to know how they live. And I don't necessarily, just personally, when we engaged an interior designer, that conversation didn't happen.
Really?
And it was more about it was about the space, so we scaled it down, right? I think the space was it was a living room, actually 2 rooms. So let's just say it's like 1,000 square foot. And it was just the process was more about, here are some magazines, we had these little stickies. Sticky the pages that you liked, and I did one magazine, or I did my part in the magazines that we got. My husband did his, and then she came back with design,
Okay.
and what she thought, based on our stickies, the design should look like. And it didn't even include the details of plans, if we had frames or anything. And it was actually a little bit off. So,
Yeah.
but it's, there was no kind of getting to know you phase and how you would use this space, or how you envision of using this space, or, or any kind of guidance of like, okay, I hear you, you do your life this way, so maybe this space could function like this. So there was no kind of, that conversation didn't happen. So I love that part of your consult, or the start of your process, because it sounds like it's truly personalized and customized to, each person.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I love the idea of giving you guys magazines because that's super fun. And it was probably fun to put stickies in. And my process in learning what your aesthetic is slightly different because I have a design questionnaire online. So whenever you submit an inquiry and we engage online, you're given a client portal. And in this client portal, it's probably 100 questions, honestly. It keeps growing longer by the day. But there's also photos of rooms and designs in there where you can say, do you like this better or do you like this better? Out of these 6 photos, which one do you resonate most with? Where do you shop? Are you shopping at Restoration Hardware? Are you shopping at West Elm? Are you shopping, at Crate and Barrel? Four Hands? What colors do you love? What colors do you hate?
Yeah.
So there is the aesthetic side of it that I didn't mention before that helps me to understand what your overall design preference looks like. But I also want to be there when your 3-year-old is running around. Literally, I want to see what they're like. Show me that your kids are jumping on the furniture, because I'm going to be like, okay, so I know that they need a playroom with a jungle gym, or I know that we're not going to choose this sofa because it is not going to survive. Oh, your pets sleep in your bed with you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to choose white bedding for you.
Yeah.
There are things that it may look great, but it may not serve you.
Yeah.
And every client of mine, knock on wood, at the end of the day, I consider a friend. And I build a relationship with them and they become important to me. And so I don't want them to spend money on something that does not serve them well. That's very important to me. Money does not grow on trees, and I want to be cognizant of how people spend theirs, especially when it's at my guidance.
Right. Oh, that's so great. Well, okay, so then about money, so what, for those considering selling their home, what would be some practical interior design tips that you can share?
Absolutely. And we do work with a lot of agents on make-readies.
Okay.
That is a big thing that we do. I have some contractors who will bill escrow because we know that when a client is getting ready to sell their home, they may not have a stack of cash to do any updates, but these small updates can also make such a big difference on their sales price.
Right.
That we don't want anyone to miss out on being able to, capitalize on that. So we have contractors that will just go ahead and bill escrow and get paid through that.
Oh, that's great. That's a game changer.
I know, it really is.
Yes.
Yeah. They'll do it up to about $20,000 or $30,000. They'll carry that balance and bill your escrow. For every 30 days, they might charge 1% or 2% of interest, but they're pretty great about it, honestly. So as far as what I think makes the biggest difference, actually I have a list here.
Okay.
Because I did think through that very thoroughly. Let me just see. Okay, the obvious one is paint. Like a fresh coat of paint is always a game changer.
Yeah.
And pay attention to your trim, your baseboards, your door jambs, your windowsills, because they get scuffed so quickly, so easily. Every time you vacuum, I can't tell you how many dings I've put in my baseboards. So definitely a fresh coat of paint.
Is it a fresh coat of white paint? And And which white, if it is white?
Oh, if I had to choose a white, it might be alabaster.
I love alabaster.
But I love white. I love neutrals. I really love, have you heard of color drenching?
No.
That's a really big, I don't want to say trend, but it's a movement that is really taking off, and it's been so great. So it's basically when you paint your walls and your ceiling and often your trim the same color, you're just using a different sheen on your trim. It makes the room feel bigger.
Bigger, yes.
It makes everything feel so much more cohesive. So we're really starting to move away from the, walls being one color and then the ceiling being white, just because it breaks up the space. And it's been really cool because people are using bold colors to color drench, and it's just gorgeous. So it's been one of my favorite movements, if you will, in the design community. But white is great because it's easy, right? You really can't go wrong with it, but don't choose a sterile white. Just don't.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like a hospital room.
Yes.
But definitely a fresh coat of a light neutral color is great, because then you're giving your potential buyers a blank slate. They have a fresh palette that they can imagine anything with. The next thing, light fixtures.
Oh,
People really think that it is so much more expensive or involved to change light fixtures. Like, if you hear anything from me, hear this: get rid of the boob lights.
Yes.
Just get rid of them.
Yes.
You can
please.
go get a flush mount for $30 at Home Depot or Lowe's. Get rid of the boob lights.
Or Amazon.
Yes.
Yes.
Literally anything. Even chandeliers, you can get those for a great price point of, anywhere from $200 to $400 if you want to keep it low. An electrician, honestly, your husband can probably do it. Mine did. We almost got divorced over it. We've decided we no longer do electrical projects together.
Okay.
Yeah. But light fixtures, huge difference, especially kitchen, like pendant, chandelier, those kind of things. Update the light fixtures.
And what kind of bulbs?
Soft white.
Okay.
Yeah. I know Edison bulbs were really it for quite some time, but people have now, they've become just like, they feel like it's repugnant. They're just like, no Edison bulbs. So I always like a soft white. Don't go, and I know everyone's moving towards these LEDs, which are great, but the LED, I don't know if you remember, like 7 or 8 years ago, every LED bulb had this like blue tint to it. Like it was hard to find like a good soft white LED when they first came out. But now there's so many options. So I do love a good soft white.
Okay.
The next thing is cabinet hardware.
Oh, yes.
Get on Amazon, girl. Order yourself a 70 pack of hardware.
Right.
Throw it on. Just refresh the space.
It's like less than $100.
I know. And it makes such a difference. Like, it can change the entire look of a kitchen or a bathroom just having some updated. They get scuffed. They get dinged. They get fingerprints. Just buy some new hardware if it hasn't been replaced in the last, 8 to 10 years. Plumbing fixtures.
Oh. Okay.
So, yeah. Especially here in Austin with the hard water.
Oh, yes.
I know. I feel like it just, even with a softener in place, the calcium deposits are just awful. And it will automatically age whatever area of the house you're looking at, having that calcium deposit or just tarnish, So just buy some new faucets, a new trim kit maybe for the shower, even if you don't want to replace like all the tile in the shower. Just update the plumbing hardware. You can do that without any major remodel. Okay. You can pay a plumber to come out. They'll charge a few $100 maybe to replace a bunch of stuff. Your toilet, put a new toilet in. Pay your $300, get a new toilet if yours is like the squatty potty toilet. Okay, so I have to tell you this. So when we moved in, our house was the model.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
I swear they are like child-sized toilets they put in that house. Oh. They are so small. Mike is 6'4".
Yeah.
I need to be like, my knees are touching my chin if I have to sit on this. So buy the chair height toilets. just buy them. They're $300 each. Kohler 2-piece and get skirted so that you don't have the knobs,
Oh,
the
yes.
dust collectors.
100% on the
Yes.
skirted.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Spend the $900 on new toilets, and then a plumber is probably another $500 to install.
Yeah.
Like it's worth it. And then this one is a little bit more involved, but your backsplash in your kitchen.
Really?
Yeah. People really go to town with a backsplash. They feel like that is their space to just be bold and brave and just do a funky design.
Okay.
Which is cool, but often it's a trendy design that is completely out of style within 3 years. So like the mosaic glass, sometimes I see them and they're like the weirdest colors. And you just have to think like, this was great with your decor, but now you're trying to appeal to the masses of these people that are going to be coming in wanting to buy your house. And often when people are buying a home, they may not then have the money to renovate said home after they've put their down payment, paid their closing costs, bought the new furniture, paid to move, all of the things. They don't then want to have to rip something out.
Yeah.
Replace your backsplash if it's funky. Just do it. Just
Do like subway tiles, super simple? Or is that
yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be subway tiles, just something neutral, something versatile, something that can go with any kind of decor, you know, whether it's just a simple marble, whether it's a simple subway tile. Don't get crazy with it. Just stay neutral.
Okay.
Like, you want to appeal to the masses here. You want people to come in and be able to see their belongings in your home.
Right.
And if your home is built and designed too much to your own specific taste, it's going to be really hard finding someone that is willing to take that on or, you know, come in and then renovate the space.
Right. So you mentioned plumbing fixtures, light fixtures,
Paint,
backsplash,
and
there's one more.
there was one more. You're absolutely right. Cabinet hardware.
Cabinet hardware. Okay. So with the fixtures and maybe even the cabinet hardware, should they be black?
It depends on the color of the cabinet and the rest of your house. We definitely saw the high rise of everything was black for a while. It was the modern farmhouse feel, right? You had the subway tile with the black grout and all the black hardware and everything. That's kind of fading out for a lot of people. Unless that is your true aesthetic through and through, people are opting for, actually what's really cool is we're doing a lot of mixed metal.
I was going to say the mixed metals are so pretty.
It is, and it's so great.
Yeah.
It really opens up what you can order, what you can, put in your room, because sometimes you can't find something that is the exact right antique brass or the exact right, polished
matte
nickel.
Black.
Yes, matte black. So I am loving the mixed metal movement that's happening. People are just really finding their inner voice and their inner style. And they're like, I like these chrome knobs with this gold light fixture. And it looks fabulous together. It is versatile. So with certain cabinets, you want to go with maybe a silver-based hardware because you want it to blend into the background. Whereas you maybe want the light fixture to pop, so you're going to go with gold or black. So it really just depends on what's going to be most cohesive for that design.
Okay. So even with those 5 tips, I mean, just a quick tally in my head, it sounds like that's only maybe a couple thousand?
Yeah,
less than 5 maybe?
Yeah, you could do a lot for under $5,000.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming you're going to paint yourself, that's a big undertaking.
It is.
But
make sure it's even pressure. I learned that the hard way. Because I was like, oh, I could paint. And then I took 2 steps back and I was like, no, I can't.
No, I know. I always think that I'm going to be great at it, and I never am. It's also it's a marriage breaker. Just There's certain things that we just don't do anymore.
But I mean, that is, now that we talked about ROI earlier, for $5,000 or less,
Yeah,
just to make these small but big,
absolutely.
it
can make your space feel so updated.
Yeah.
Without changing out your countertops. I mean, obviously your countertops would be like the next on my list if I had, if you had unlimited funds and you were like, oh, I can spend 10, 15 grand.
Yeah.
Then, and you have old granite countertops, like, remember the gold ones, the gold with the black specks that all of our parents have from the 90s, then update your countertops. But otherwise, just do these things. That's plenty.
Well, and I'm glad you didn't say flooring.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of, for those homeowners who are like looking to downsize because they've been in their home for 10, maybe 15, 20 years, they may still have the tile and don't have hardwood or the vinyl planks. And so that's usually one question that I get, like, do I have to update? Do I have to rip off the tile? Because I don't want to.
No, if it were me, what I used to advise my clients was just give them a flooring allowance. Because you don't know, a lot of times people would be like, oh, this carpet is old and it's, gross and I should replace it. I'm like, don't, because you don't even know, like, what if the people have allergies and they don't want any carpet in the house?
Yeah.
Just don't. Just if you, instead of spending the $10,000 to replace the floors, just say, here's a $10,000 credit, then they can go pick out what they want. Because I would hate for someone to say, I'm going to spend my, savings, $30,000 on putting new flooring in, and then the people buy it and they hate the flooring and rip it out, and then you've just wasted your money.
Right.
No, don't mess with the flooring unless it is like so repulsive that you are like, I can't bring anyone in here because a cat has peed all over it. I can't get the smell out.
And you can't get the smell out.
Then yes, you probably need to replace that carpet. But otherwise, I think most agents will say, like, look beyond the flooring. There's a flooring credit, or that's easily changeable. Look at these other areas that have already been updated.
That's such a great idea. I don't think, I don't see very many of that, actually, to be honest with you, in the MLS.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Oh, it was such a huge, huge thing in California when I was selling. We always did a flooring allowance. Instead of offering, a discount, whether it was buyer credits back or, covering closing costs, we would just say, like, if your flooring is awful, just give them a flooring credit or just give them a landscaping credit, or because then the buyers come in with less money down, and then they also have the ability to just pick what they want, which automatically giving a buyer autonomy.
Yeah.
It makes them, it helps them make the decision, honestly.
Right.
They're going to lean towards whatever house is offering a credit to begin with.
Well, because I think that's the appeal with new builds, right? Because you get to choose what you want in the house. So when you're out looking for resale and you see that there is this credit that will be given to you so that you can pick what you want in that house, let's just say it's the floor. I mean, it does something to you psychologically, right? And,
absolutely.
Yeah, and so it makes it a little bit more tangible.
Yeah.
And then they can start seeing themselves more in their home, more in that home.
Well, what's funny too is it's almost like a Jedi mind trick because, when some of these houses, when you're buying them, you're building them, you're under the assumption that you have choices, but the choices have already been chosen and narrowed down, and then you just choose between those. They're like, this is the cabinet that goes with this flooring, with this paint, with this tile, with this and this, and then you're just choosing between 4 options half the time.
Right.
So I think that anytime that you can give a client the feeling of autonomy over any decision in their life, you're already winning.
I agree. 100%.
But also narrow it down.
Right.
Because I have learned that the hard way. Like, I used to take my clients to the tile shop.
It's overwhelming.
Yes. And we would spend like 4 hours there. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to pick 20 tiles and I'm going to bring them to you. Yeah. And then we're going to look at them together.
Yeah.
Just because we just they would just go up and down the aisles and be like, I like this one, but I like this one, but I like this one. And none of them would be cohesive with what they even initially wanted in their design.
Right.
It's exciting. You go and they have these beautiful displays where they've built, fake showers and vanities. And you're like, oh my gosh, but I love this emerald green herringbone laid out, shower with these ornate things. And you're like, but no, doesn't even go in my house. But all of a sudden you want this emerald green tile.
Right.
So, I mean, listen, it's all about limiting our options.
Right. And I'm with you on that, because when I have too many options, I get super overwhelmed. And, when I have clients going through the new build process, part of that process, if you're going through a builder and building your home from ground up, there's that design appointment that you get to go to with the builder. Mm-hmm. You get to go to that place where you see all your finishes, and then sometimes the design consultant is helpful, sometimes they're not. And, one of the things that I prep my clients is, don't be overwhelmed and have, maybe some inspo photos with you, right?
Yeah. Well, that's funny. That's one of the things that you had actually, one of the questions you had sent me to talk about was, I think, basically, how do we customize our designs to fit each client's unique style? Uh-huh. And I really sat and thought about this one for a minute. And the answer to that is, the first step is recognizing that we're all human and have our own design preferences. Mm-hmm. And it really takes a concerted effort to make sure that we are not projecting our own preferences on our client, because it's really easy to do. It's really easy to be like, I don't do mid-century modern. Like, that's not my style. It's not my comfort zone. And so you have to be careful that you're not guiding someone away from what they truly like towards something that you like. I mean, obviously, as a professional, you want to offer guidance and advice, but it's a really fine line. And I mean, fortunately now with social media, most clients, when they come to you, they've already cyber stalked you and have seen your portfolio online or know that you worked with so-and-so, or you're a friend of a friend of a friend. But you still have to kind of keep that in check at times of, no matter what, this client may only want all black hardware on white cabinets with black grout, and that's what they want. And you can only offer them so much guidance otherwise, but you also have to make sure that you're not mistakenly leading them toward what you like. Right. And if that doesn't actually fit their lifestyle. Yeah. It's hard.
It is hard. I mean, it's the same when I'm showing homes, right? You think your client would want a certain type of home, and then you bring them there, and and they don't
pick it apart.
Yeah, they do. And you're just
like,
but it has all the things. It checks off all the boxes, right? And I think that's why I enjoy, being with them, when I show homes, because you get to see the reaction, right? And then you get to actually realize that while it was high on their list at that time when we were talking, it's no longer a priority. Right. Or they start realizing that the open concept isn't what they want. They do like the separation between rooms. And so they love this home that the kitchen was tucked away here, and then the living room was over there, and then the dining was here. And you do have to be careful, because then you're like, but when it's open concept, you could have eyesight, throughout the whole space, and you don't want the walls, and you could easily find yourself pushing them in that direction. Right. When, you realize that maybe it wasn't really what they wanted in the beginning. So.
Well, yeah, then there's definitely the emotional aspect of it. You don't realize how strong of a pull an emotional tie is to something, or how to create that emotional aspect within a house that you're showing or design. And I think I can't tell you how many times I've had a client that tells me that they want something, but when it comes down to it, they actually don't.
Right.
They want what they think it represents. Mm-hmm. They see something online and they're like, oh, I love this. I love it so much. I want, the room to look like this. I only want this. But then when you start piecing all of these individual things together that they claim they want, they're like, oh, I don't like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know. I know. But here's the thing, like we have to go through the process together to figure it out, because they're like, I want an open concept. I want everyone to flow back and forth. But then you're like, really though? You have adult children and they're gaming or they're this or they're that. Like, do you really want that noise right here? Like, where are you going to sit and do your activities? Or where are you going to put your mahjong table? I think that sometimes we think we want something because in our mind it represents an idealistic situation. And it doesn't necessarily align with what life actually looks like for us or how it would be implemented in our own lives. And that sometimes you feel like a therapist because you're really having to work through some of that. Right now we're doing a lot of playrooms, and it's, well, I don't need this, or I do need this, or I don't need this. But then it's like, okay, well, where are you going to sit and watch movies as a family? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I just didn't want my child to watch TV, or, I didn't think about, if we remove her jungle gym, where is she going to play? She's going to fall down the stairs. That's what's going to happen. So let's build something in. So I think there's sometimes some reality checks that need to happen to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal, which is, ultimately a space that is going to work for everyone in that house. And that's not always easy to do.
It's not. And sometimes it takes time to go through that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can lead a horse to water.
Right.
Yeah. But then sometimes it's super easy.
Right.
And people are like, hey, yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So you have to be flexible and roll with the punches. Never ending.
Right. Well, Heather, tell everyone how they can get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah. So obviously you can call. Phone number is 512-702-0455. You can go to our website, which is housecollectiveatx.com. Through there, you can submit an inquiry online, and that usually gets routed to me very quickly. And you can also email our main email box, and that's hello@housecollectiveatx.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I've loved our chat.
Me too. It's always fun.
It is always fun. It's we could talk all day, actually.
I know. It's great. I love it.
Me too. Well, thank you again for your time.
Yeah.
And y'all, if you need any kind of interior design, consult, remodeling, small space, any budget, give Heather a call. Thanks for watching.